Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2, where as promised, we are in position for this burn. It took a while to turn. To be honest, I don't know how long it was. I got up and walked away from the computer for a while, and then we came back. I don't know why I used the royal plural there, but whatever. We came back and we discovered that the rocket was in position at that point. That's not a very interesting story, is it? No, it is not. We're going to take forward a few more seconds here because we need to complete this burn. This is our inclination change, if I remember correctly. 10 seconds, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay. Beautiful. So inclination change, yeah, this is definitely the inclination change going by the nav ball. So that's fine. We've got about a 2-minute burn here. We're still on our first stage here. I want to point that out. We burned about half of the fuel off of our first stage. This is going to burn the vast majority of the rest of it, but not quite the whole thing. So let's warp forward a little bit here. Bringing it up to, I don't know, like 10x is probably fine. 30 seconds left. 20. 10. And back down to 1x. 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. Now, this didn't move. So there's that. How are we doing? Did we nail it? Let's find out. We want Moho as our target. 0.1? Good enough. That will do. So at this point, we can start looking to transfer over to Moho. So that's going to be a little bit awkward because of the elliptical orbit. Actually, this isn't too bad. We want to go this way. A little bit more prograde. No, a little bit more retrograde. This is going to be a fair amount of DV for sure. And I want to change our timing to be more like, oh, hello. That's an encounter there. Is it a good encounter? Let's head on over to Moho and find out. Honestly, it'll probably do. It's a pretty quick flyby. The question is, just how much DV is it going to take us to bring us into orbit of Moho? I'm willing to bet it's going to be quite a lot. We might want to have this be slightly closer than it is right now, just to give us extra burn time if it's needed. So that would end up being something kind of like that or so. Seems reasonably fine. Let's align to that burn. It's going to take a while to get aligned. No doubt about that. How quick are we turning now that we've burned the majority of the fuel out of this tank? It's actually moving fairly perceptibly. It's not great, but it's okay. Cool. I'm not going to make you sit through this entire turn either. I'll be back when it's about over. See you in a moment. Okay, so here we are about lined up for this burn. We're not quite in a perfect position yet, but let's warp on forward. We're very, very close. So that'll be fine. And this is going to be about a 12-minute burn here. We've got about 3 hours at this point. We'll continue to warp. Well, hello, Kerbal. You are very bright. That is fine. We're going to be getting a lot closer to Kerbal, and hopefully we don't have any heating issues from it. That would be awkward. We would not require special heating considerations for Moho in KSP1. We'll see if that's any different in KSP2. If it is, perhaps Jeb will die. We'll see. We've got 468 meters per second left in our first stage for this burn. So we're going to get like almost a fifth of it done. Like almost 20% of it done with our first stage burn. That is really not bad. We're doing really well as far as fuel is concerned. What I'm concerned about right now is losing this fuel that we have here. We'll see what ends up happening with that. We've got a lot of DV right now, but it'll be interesting for sure. We've got about 20 seconds until this burn, and I'm not warping it forward deliberately. I'm allowing us some extra time to turn over here. But we'll get there very quickly once we start up our actual burn here. That'll be fine. It will be about a 12-minute burn, which is a long burn, no doubt about it. But out here, it doesn't really matter. So that'll be fine. We've got about 5 seconds left. 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, so let's burn out our first stage at long last. Excellent. So we are slowing down here. Very excellent. 350 meters per second left in our first stage. I'm not going to be warping through this first stage. We'll get it done fairly quickly here. But the second stage, we're absolutely going to want to warp. No doubt about that. 250 meters per second left in this first stage. 200. 150. Yeah, this first stage has gotten us a long ways. There's no doubt about it. I'm kind of sad to see it go, but it did a really good job. 50 meters per second left. 25. And we are separated. Excellent. So off we go, and we've got about 4,700 meters per second here. Now, about 2,000 of those are going to be used up just getting to Moho. We're going to need another chunk of it getting into orbit around Moho, and then we'll need to do some orbital maneuvers there, and we're going to burn whatever we can out of this tank. It will be ideal to burn out of this tank over burning out of these tanks, for sure. Let's warp forward. We're going to need to accelerate time here somewhat. 12-minute burn is pretty extreme. So now 7 minutes. 5 minutes. Excellent. 4, 3, 2, 1 minute. And, okay. I think I overshot it a little bit, but it should be reasonably fine. Let's get rid of that maneuver node, and let's take a look at what our final orbit looks like here. We should, at this point, have an encounter with Moho. What does that encounter look like, though? Okay, this should be fine. We should have a pretty lengthy encounter there, in theory. So now I want to warp us quite a lot closer, up over here, like 125 days. The question is, are we going to have any overheat as we go in? We'll find out. Okay, so over we warp. Lack of stellar exposure? Yeah, that's just going to require turning. It's fine. I'm not too concerned about that one. We've got a lot of stellar exposure right now, arguably too much stellar exposure. But for the moment, I do want to warp a little bit closer over here. So just move in a couple of days here. Excellent. I want to get a little bit further. Our encounter is going to start here. So let's just warp. Wait, no, that's in 248 days. Let's warp here. Because this was on the wrong orbit. Cool. We want to actually go down into the Moho section here. Cool. So we kind of want to warp to here. So that's just beyond this encounter. And once we get there, we're going to see what we need for our braking burn. So our orbital velocity is quite high at this moment. No doubt about that. How's this going to go? 35, 36? Okay. Well, that's going to be quite a lot of DV for sure. I want to create a maneuver plan here, and I want to do a retrograde burn. Yeah, this is a big braking burn. I'm not at all surprised about that. That's too much braking burn there, though, for sure. Okay, flip that back around and put this into a relatively circularized burn. So as you can see here, this is a lot of DV, 3399. This is why I'm saying I'm a little bit concerned about the DV levels in our lander. We'll see how that goes. That'll be very interesting. Also, I want to make sure we do have fuel lines going in here, right? It'd be awkward if we didn't at this point. That's an FDX2. Yeah, it must be connected, right? Surely. Okay, so we're going to have to burn off basically, in fact, we're going to have to burn this entire stage off just as a braking burn. So there's that. We should check on the inclination here. Okay, so this is very polar. That's kind of convenient for us, actually. So Here's the thing, though. We could just leave Jeb on Moho. That is an option. I don't know that it's a great option, but it is an option. We should be starting to turn towards this retrograde marker. In fact, we should have been starting that already. Although our turning is getting considerably faster, this is still going to be a lot of mass to turn. So it's going to take some time here. We've got 24 minutes, which is more than enough time for it to turn. That's for sure. I'm still concerned about Delta V. Yeah, I'm still rather concerned about Delta V here. We'll see. It'll be interesting for sure. We do apparently have experiments to run here, and we'll do that. Sounds great. I mean, we haven't been to Moho before. That's Moho down there. And yeah, we're definitely turning a little bit faster. I don't know why this is stuck on. I don't want it to be highlighted right now, but that's apparently a bug. That is fine. It's just a visual thing. So we're just slowly turning on over here. And at this point, I feel like we're turning just fast enough to not really be able to justify cutting it out. I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. But let's just get this into position here. I really wish we could physics warp turns in KSP2, but the fact that we can't do that is going to influence rocket design going forward. So that's fine. We can compensate for it. We'll just have to have slightly more powerful rockets and slightly more reaction wheels. That's okay. Like in this particular case, just a single large reaction wheel right here would, or actually probably better off to put it right here, would be enough. It would definitely do the trick. No doubt about that. So we now have our destination point in sight. We are slowly turning our way on over, and with this turn speed, I'm pretty comfortable with what our turn speed is going to be up here. What I'm not comfortable with is our Delta V numbers. I'm very concerned about it. But we'll see what this ends up looking like. We came in very, very fast, no doubt about that. And it's probably fine if we want Jeb to be a colonist. The question is, if he gets back into orbit, we can in theory just have him get out and push all the way back to Kerbal. That is a terrible idea, but we could do it if it was necessary. I don't know how necessary that will actually end up being, though, is the thing. Well, here we are lined up, and we are going to want to warp to maneuver. We're going to have to use some lander fuel to do our maneuvering here on Moho, which I do not care for sure. I would vastly prefer to still have about... If we had about 500 DV left in this at this point, like after this burn. So that would mean about another 1,200 DV in here. Which would be doable, theoretically. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. For now, of course, we've got about 20 seconds until this burn, and we're going to just burn out all of the remaining fuel in this tank. That'll get us most of the way there. 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay. So we're slowing this down, but that's going to be about a 10-minute burn. We should definitely accelerate this a little bit. No doubt about it. Let's bring it up to 50x for right now. Cool. So we've got about 3 minutes of burn left, and I want to exit the warp here. We've got about 200 meters per second here, although the game would have automatically exited the warp. That's fine. The display here is clearly broken. We're not concerned about that. It's fine. We can work without it. So we've got about 200 meters per second left in this tank. And I want to check to see, are we in orbit yet? We are not. A minimal orbit is fine here for the moment. So we're at 170 meters per second remaining, and we're still going to have a fair amount of burn that needs to happen here. But we have done the majority of the burn at this point. So yeah, this leaving Moho here, that's fine. We've got about 100 meters per second. Still, we can warp forward a little bit faster. Okay, now the game is like, no, you're about out of fuel. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware of that. It's okay. I want to warp. No, the game is saying no. Okay, sure. That's fine. We're going to be ditching the stage right about now. Interesting. So this is 14,000 meters per second, allegedly. I'm not convinced that that is correct. I want to just be on retrograde for right now. The maneuver, did I get rid of the maneuver there? I may have. I don't know. For the moment, we just want to continue to slow this down. Our orbital velocity is a little bit high, and we want to get ourselves captured. So that'll be okay. Once we're captured, we're going to want to flip into a polar orbit and probably simultaneously drop our periapsis. That's okay. I'm feeling much more comfortable seeing this number. I don't know how accurate it is, but I'm feeling a lot more comfortable seeing it. So there is that. Excellent. So all of these engines are lit, and this one has a lot more than the others, so that looks pretty good. No doubt about that. We're still burning retrograde here. Our orbital velocity is finally starting to move. We were definitely moving very rapidly. No doubt about that. But we knew that that was going to be the case. Cool. I would love to see this come down even more, but 300 meters per second is not too bad, I think. Yeah, we're definitely seeing this start to move quite a bit, so that looks fine. Continuing to burn retrograde here, and we'll be captured shortly. Beautiful. So all we need to do is get into a minimal orbit here. 180? I mean, we're in a very high orbit right now. No doubt about that. There we go. So this will do for now. We're going to want to change this into a fairly elliptical orbit. So I think somewhere around here? Or not an elliptical, a fairly large polar orbit. So something along the lines of this. This is only 120 meters per second right now. Yeah, about 200 meters per second to get flipped over like this. And that's going to put our periapsis down a ways. That's fine for now. We'll continue to tweak that as we head in. So that looks okay. Let's align for this burn, and we should turn considerably faster than before. Indeed, we are turning reasonably fast at this point. So that looks good. I'm still a little concerned about Jeb making it home. I want to be clear about that. This number is not an accurate one. That's very, very obvious. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes for poor Jeb here. We've got about 12 days to warp here, and we're going to do that. Getting ourselves into position for this burn. Wow, okay, that was awkward. Sure. Cool. We've got about another 22 minutes to warp. Let's do so. 40 seconds. And 30, 20, 10, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay. So at this point, we are reducing our periapsis by a fair amount, but we're also changing over into a polar orbit, which is where we want to be. So that's looking pretty decent. This one's working. Okay, that's exciting. Cool. So let's just get into position here. That's good enough. And now at the periapsis, I'm going to want to... Actually, let's just flip this over to retrograde right now. And let's drop this periapsis down a fair amount. The periapsis is still at 2,000 kilometers. So I want to drop that down to be somewhere closer to, like, 50? Something like that. So let's just get into position here. We're at the apoapsis right now, so this is the best time to drop our periapsis. That seems reasonably okay. We can certainly land at the site. The question is, are we going to be able to make it back? That's a much, much more difficult question to answer at this point. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so we're about aligned retrograde here. Let's just creep this up a little bit. Okay. 1,000 kilometers. 500. Dropping down that speed a little bit. 140, 130, 120, 100 kilometers. That's 64 kilometers. That's about 50 kilometers there. 53. That is probably good enough. I don't know what a safe orbit over Moho is. Probably somewhere around there. So as a hypothetical, if we wanted to circularize that, which we probably do, how much DV will that cost? Only about 300. That's not too bad. Okay. Align to that. And this is 45 and 62 kilometers. So the timing isn't perfect here. Maybe moving it about like that. That's 30 and 78. That's overshooting it. About here or so, probably. Yeah, that'll do. 50 kilometers on each side. So that looks good. We're still working on aligning to this node. But this is going to put us into a nice orbit around Moho. Now, this is basically exactly at the Moho pole. So that's exciting as far as our electric charge goes. No doubt about that. Let's get into position for this burn, and we are going to warp on around. We need to move to the periapsis. And yeah, this is definitely a safe altitude. No doubt about that. 100% that's a safe altitude. So let's head on in. Of course, in reality, if we were to be landing on Mercury here, literally everything in our craft would be melting right now, even without touching the molten rock. It's hot out there. But that doesn't matter in KSP2. So that's fine. We're just going to warp on around and bring ourselves down to the periapsis. We're watching those orbital numbers increase, but honestly, it's not too bad, all things considered. 1,000 meters per second is well over orbital velocity, so that is a good sign for us. Okay, 30 seconds until this burn. 20 seconds. 10. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Okay, burn commenced. Let's get ourselves into a reasonable parking orbit here, and we'll go in for the landing after that. Wonderful. However, I will say, it is a little too late in the episode to really go for the landing right now, so I think that is going to... Yeah, we should definitely do this research. That is going to end up being a next episode sort of thing, and we'll see how our fuel reserves hold out. This will be very interesting, for sure. We know it's going to take a fair amount of DV to do the landing, so there is that. This is good enough. It'll take a fair amount of DV to do the landing, and it's also going to be a little bit problematic to take off, probably. We'll see how that ends up going. I'm a little concerned we burned half of our fuel in our landing stage without even landing yet. It should be interesting. Jeb might be here a while. We'll see. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Atala, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kintogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.